Hey church, we all have things we prioritize above almost everything in our lives. The dreams, desires, and obsessions that shape our decisions and aspirations. They're like gold statues that we hold dear. But here's the catch. What we value often reflects what we believe gives us the most value. We strive for trophies that seem to promise significance and fulfillment. But more often than not, we reach out and grasp that elusive prize only to discover it wasn't worth the time, money, or energy. When we become so preoccupied, those pursuits overshadow the better things that God has for us. It's time to reevaluate our priorities. How can we reshape our lives around a more fulfilling set of priorities, aligning our desires with God's priorities? Join us this September as we uncover some of these answers in this new series, Tiny Gold Statues. What skewed priorities cost us and why it just isn't worth it. Throughout this series, we'll explore how to shift our focus, reevaluate our goals, and make room for what truly matters in our lives. So do me a favor, mark your calendars and think of a friend that you can invite to our new series, Tiny Gold Statues, this September.
It's not true. Now Laura's going to take it
Don't
personal.
try to butt. We gotta save America.
So, over the last 4 weeks, we have been talking about political powder keg. This is the last week I'm going to teach on politics. Whew, okay, so this is it. And you know, we've been talking, and now it's been tough because we've been talking about how do you maintain friendships and relationships when you don't agree politically? How do you still love people when they get under your skin when they talk about politics? How do you refrain from talking about politics with a bunch of people or even in like social media or posting things like that? And if you were to really go over all the weeks what we've been talking about this, it could actually seem very defeating if we're being honest. Because some people can go like, so what, I'm not supposed to have an opinion politically then? Am I not supposed to say how I feel? Are you telling me to be quiet? Are you telling me that I can't post something because I'm not being a good Christian? I mean, that sounds really defeating. Am I supposed to just stand by as our country goes down the tubes and say nothing? Is that what you're asking me to do? That's not what I'm saying, and that's not what this is about at all. Yes, have your opinions. Yes, vote. Yes, be part of the process. Yes, be educated on what all of this is. Because there's a lot of dark stuff happening out there, and you need to know what's going on out there. All I'm saying is it doesn't take a huge hero to get in arguments about politics all the time. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't help you, and it doesn't help somebody else when all you're doing is beating them down. When people are overly involved in politics, when that's all they think about and that's all they get riled up about, they're sort of like a child, right? This is unfair, this country's unfair, and I can't get anything, and that's not fair. And this country needs to change to give me what I want. It's not fair. That's kind of how they are. And everything is political, right? This country used to be better, now it's not. This country's got to give me more. This isn't fair, and they act like children. And so when you have a kid that's throwing a tantrum, you don't want to just obliterate him with a point, even if you're right. Because what good is it going to do? You know, I was a camp counselor one summer at a summer camp when I was in college, and I got there late. I was the last guy that I was a part of it, and so they gave me like the age that nobody wants. I had 5-year-old boys, okay? Not easy, all right? Telling you now. But and we were the Tigers. So I've got all the 5-year-old boys, and there was this one boy who nobody wanted to play with. He was kind of a grumpy kid. He was always saying everything's not fair. He didn't like anything. And so I went up to the kid and I started talking to him and I said, why don't we play soccer? And he said, soccer's dumb and it's boring and I hate it. And I said, okay, well, have you tried it? He goes, yeah, I've tried it. It's dumb and I hate it. I was like, okay. So I just started kicking the ball around with him. And he was kicking the ball back with me. And then before you know it, we were kind of playing. And I was getting to know him. And of course, I would let him score. I was like, and then he got some confidence and he got more confidence. And he started to change how we thought about soccer and playing with the other kids. You see, The problem wasn't that he hates soccer. The problem was he was insecure about who he was. And so he was putting all of his anger on that thing. A lot of people that get overly argumentative about politics is because they're insecure about who they are and what they believe. So everything hangs and dies on this. And so they get really overly aggressive. And so for this kid, I let him play and he would score and he would get happy. Now, that not only helped my relationship with that kid, it helped that kid's relationship with other kids. Could I have dominated him? Of course. He was 5 and I'm a phenomenal athlete. I could have easily dominated him, but I didn't, because what would that have proved? You could beat somebody up with your arguments, sure, because you may be right, but so what? What is that going to prove? How is that person going to grow? How are you going to even get to know that person? I'm not saying don't have opinions, but just don't beat everybody up that disagrees with you. That's all I'm saying. It's not that hard. And it can be very difficult to navigate through all of that. Now, the point is this. Just because you can obliterate somebody, maybe with your argument, it doesn't mean you should. Okay? Remember that. Right now, guys, people are living and dying on who wins the elections. Literally. Their hope is completely and totally dependent on who wins. And if the other side wins, we're a wreck. And if the other side, this is just a few photos of the last few elections. And look at this. They are just so distraught. Their life is now over because their person didn't win. Now, if I'm willing to guess over the past 8 years, some of us who are either watching online or here have felt a little like these people going, all hope is lost now. That other side won, now we're done. Now this is it, it's over. And their hope is completely tied to that, where God is saying this, listen, no matter who you put your hope in, no matter what is going on out there, it doesn't matter because of what's going on in here. You're gonna be okay. Guys, I have done many weddings in my life, and it's funny when I do this passage because when I do the passage about love, I always do the same verses, and everybody even giggles because they know what's going to come next. I'm sure you guys can guess what verses I do, right? Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy. It's like at every wedding. And I think it's cool that we've got these cool like passages that talk about love and talks about all these happy things, and we love that. And we have these passages that we can say on those times. But what about the passages when we're going through some dark times? Are there passages for that? Yes, I've done these passages. Psalm 23, when people were in hospitals or in hospice or even at funerals. It's the Psalm of David's Psalm. Here it is, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd and I lack nothing. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now, if you were ever discouraged in your life, and you might have read that passage, and it might have given you some hope. And I want to tell you, you're not alone, because for thousands of years, people have read this passage, and it gave them hope. Now, David identifies 3 things that we're going to talk about today as we navigate this tumultuous political landscape. Now, the first one he talks about is food. That's kind of weird. He talks about food. Like, okay. Before you start to think that's kind of weird, easy. I've seen some of you miss a meal, and it is not pretty. Okay, you get hangry, you get grumpy. I'm not going to name any names, but it's just not good. And so it talks about food. Now, what does this mean? Okay, what does it mean? How are we supposed to take this? He says, he makes me lie down in green pastures. What does that look like? Now, if you talk about green pastures, you probably have seen a picture Bible, or maybe you've seen a picture of when you have this verse and there's just rolling green hills as far as the eye can see, and it looks like Ireland, where you're just laying out in this beautiful green pasture. But the deal is that when you're talking about the Judean or the wilderness, the Judean wilderness, it rains about 5 inches a year. Okay, so you don't have a bunch of green rolling hills. what you do is you have little patches of grass. And what the shepherd would do is the shepherd would lead the sheep to wherever they can find the grass, and then the sheep would be full for that day. The shepherd's like, okay, the sheep are good that day, and then they would take the sheep back. And then the next day, the shepherd would lead the sheep to a small patch of grass, and the sheep would be full that day. The point is the sheep were never worried about where their food was going to come from, because they knew that the shepherd, even though it's very dry out there, the shepherd is going to lead me to the small patch of grass, so I'm going to be full, so I'm going to be good. As long as I'm with the shepherd, I will always have enough to eat, okay? That's what he's essentially saying. And no matter what's happening, I'm going to be good. The next one is drink, okay? For some of you are like, party, drink, all right, woo. No, drinks is a little bit different. Does anybody know the most common way that people actually died in the wilderness? It wasn't food. Thirst. Actually, it wasn't even thirst. Check this out. It was actually flash floods. What? That sounds weird. The way that it works is that when it would rain a lot at one time, and the limestone in the mountains could not absorb the rainwater. So it would act as almost like a pool. Just the water would just come right up, and it would be rushing around. Now, we just had Hurricane Hillary. And some of you are like, what? All it did was sprinkle at my house. What's the big deal? But what was the danger in that? The danger in Hurricane Hillary or tropical storm was actually flash flooding. Now, I've heard of that. My car always warns me of flash flooding 5 miles away, you know? What does that look like? When you have a flash flood, it rains constantly in one section, and it actually can cause a lot of damage. We have a couple pictures of the damage that it caused, just, you know, what flash floods will do. It actually takes apart roads, okay? It's really, really bad. So when you have all this water that comes up, that would actually kill people that are walking around in that wilderness, because, again, the limestone couldn't absorb the water. So what happens after that's done? The water again recedes, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's drinking water. You have little cups of water all over the place, and then the sheep want to go drink that water, but the shepherd knows that water's not good to drink. I'm going to take you to flowing water so that you can drink. The shepherd, looks like good water to me, I'm thirsty. No, I'm going to take you to spring water so that way you'll be able to drink. So not only will I protect you from the floods, I will give you enough to drink so you've got enough to eat and enough to drink, which leads us to our last one, and that is hope. And by the way, flash floods are pretty serious. My buddy Scott was a pastor in Palm Desert. He actually was riding a bike, and a flash flood came. It launched him up, and it launched him back down. He broke his hip. So this stuff can get pretty dangerous. Okay, so the last one is hope. And it's the most recognized portion of Psalm 23. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Now, some of us have needed this verse more than we like to admit. And David paints a very good picture of this. I don't know what you're going through. Maybe it's financial loss. You're like, I have no idea how I'm going to pay the bills this month, and I'm freaking out. Maybe it's a health crisis. You know, I thought things were going good. Now I got to go back and get more tests done. Maybe it was a relationship that you thought, hey, I thought it was good and we were solid. Now it's not. Now my hope is gone. And now I'm in this very dark valley. And what we're saying is we could place our hope in God, and actually while doing that, while putting our hope in God, we're actually simultaneously rejecting fear. Fear has no foothold here. Now, when you talk about a shepherd, the shepherd's primary weapon was his staff. Do we have a picture of that? And the staff has a crook on it. And what the crook would do, it would pull the sheep away, and then it would actually, like if the sheep was going to go off a hill or something, it would take the crook and it would pull the sheep back to safety. Or if there was like some predators, the shepherd would get in front of the sheep with the staff and say, you can't get them, they're mine. And the shepherd would guard the sheep that way, okay? So it would basically, that was the main weapon. And now what this is saying is, look, no matter what is coming your way, the shepherd is going to stand in front of you with his staff and make sure nobody gets to you. They're mine. These are my sheep. The psalmist then talks about, he prepares a table in the presence of my enemies. Now you might be thinking, well, what is that? It's a very powerful image in the 21st century. When you talk about, especially back then, to prepare a meal, it took a lot. It wasn't just like ordering a pizza, right? You're preparing a meal. This is a big deal. And so you actually have your back to everybody doing all this stuff, and you're preparing all this stuff. And what he's saying is, even if your enemies are right behind you, it's okay because I got your back. You could prepare your meal. You could be totally vulnerable because I've got your back and they can't get to you. So no matter what is happening, I'm going to feed you. You got food. No matter what's happening, those flash floods, the Arabic word is that is a wadi, and that means that the floods come up. It means like water flow or river. That's not going to hurt you. And you've got hope because nothing's going to hurt you because I'm going to stand in front of you with my rod and my staff, and nothing's going to hurt you. And I'm going to lead you to where I want you to go. Now, you might have heard that passage a lot, and you might be thinking, that's interesting. I never really thought of some of those points. What in the world does that have to do with politics? How are you drawing this conclusion? What are you talking about? Listen, in our political landscape today, you're either on my side or you're the enemy. That's what most people feel. Either you agree with me or you're dead to me. Now, let me put it this way. When we get overwhelmed by the political landscape, we run the risk of reverting to our most basic instincts: fight, flight, or freeze. But the Psalms suggest a fourth option: faith. So right now, everybody is going to their basic instincts, right? And when you talk about politics, I'm going to fight, I'm going to fly, I'm just out of here, I'm going to freeze, I don't know what to do. But what the Bible is saying is actually there's another option. There is faith. And here's my point. Much like those flash floods, you get overwhelmed by life. We get overwhelmed about this political landscape. We get caught up in whose party's in place and who's president, who's not president. How many times have you, and let's be honest, how many times have you felt a huge sense of loss just this past year when it comes to politics? You see something on the news and you're just like, are you kidding me? If I'm going to be honest, and I know this one's live, but one of my things that bothers me is when I see people going through, smash and grab, looting, stealing, and then somebody says, well, this is a political thing because they just don't have the proper education or the proper whatever. No, they're breaking the law clearly, and somebody's got to do something about it. It drives me crazy, right? And I'm telling you right now, when I look at the news, I have a huge sense of loss. Like, what in the world are we doing? Why are we so afraid of calling out something that's wrong or right? This should not be a political issue, you guys. This is not something that we debate about on what's right. It's clearly wrong. Am I taking crazy pills? Like, am I the only one that's thinking this? It's clearly wrong. Well, they're going through a lot. No kidding, a lot of people are. Does not give you the right to go and burn down property or go steal stuff. Yes, from this past year, I have experienced a lot of loss looking at that going, what is happening? What is going on here? Now, Paul would actually say, and he actually writes a letter to the Colossians, and he's reminding them there's a new way to be a human. And when he says this, he says, look, at the stuff that you thought was important, isn't as important as you used to think about. And the stuff that you used to put all your purpose in isn't stuff you should put all your purpose in, because it's Jesus that you should actually be concerned about, not all this other stuff that's going on. Colossians 3:1 says, since then you have been raised with Christ. Set your hearts on things above where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not earthly things. For you died and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. Guys, the people back then are just like the people that are now. We put all of our hope in our titles, in our relationships, in our money, and in our position. We put all of our hope in all of that stuff, right? So we think, okay, well, then if the right politician is in place, then everything's going to be fine. If the right policy is in place, everything's going to be fine. By the way, those people that are doing that are still committing crime. So it's not like, well, if the right politician is in place, then this is all going to end. It's still going to be against the law. So if I just have the right person there, all my problems will be solved. And we could tend to put our hope in all of these things. If this happens, then I'm good. Guys, really quick, and I just want to give you as a quick history lesson here. We have had depressions, recessions, battles, wars, looting, robbing, murder, rape, all that stuff under both Republican and Democratic presidents. And it still happens. Okay, so right now, if I know people, maybe even online, you're thinking, Yeah, but there was more of that when the Democrats were in charge, though. If you want to get, there was more than that when the Republicans, it was really the Republicans that was the Great Depression. That wasn't a Democrat president. And it was really the Democrats that got us in these wars, not Republicans. So right now you're kind of already kind of keeping score about what my side is better than your side. Listen, guys, I am not Pollyanna, and I am not suggesting that we live on Gumdrop Lane and everything's going to be fine and we can just skip around and give people tracts and hug them and tell them Jesus is great. I know that we're in the real world. I get that. But it's in these times that we've got to remember who exactly our shepherd is. Who is it? Why is this so important? Guys, the thing you're the most devoted to will determine what you worry about most, okay? The thing that you're most devoted to will determine what you worry about most. So if you're worried about finances, or if that's what you're determined about, that's what you're pursuing, then you're going to be worrying all the time that you're going to lose your financial power. And if it's health, you're going to be worrying about you're going to lose your health. Hypochondriac James, right? If it's relationships, all of these things can go away, guys. And these are the things that we worry about the most. But the truth is, guys, we just don't have any control over it. How many people literally thought that they were totally good? I'm totally good. I've got my perfect job. I'm getting paid what I'm supposed to get paid, and you get laid off. Now what? How many people thought, you know what? I've got my retirement is all set up. I am set. I am done. All of a sudden, you lose half your retirement. What? How did this happen? You know, my house is perfect the way I want it. Then you got leaks all over the place, and then it's all ripped up. My relationship is exactly how I want it. This is the perfect person for me. All of a sudden, that person's gone. What the heck happened? All my hope was on these things, and the reality is you can't control those things. As much as you think you can, you cannot. I cannot. It's going to happen. So at about now, you're thinking, great, thanks for depressing me, James. I'll just go listen to some Morrissey and cry in my, So what do we have control over? What do we have control over? You can control who you put your hope in. That's what you can control. That's really the thing you can control the most. Who is it you're going to put your hope in? What does that look like? Church, like I said, we're in a very dark time right now. You watch the news, it is ugly. There's really ugly stuff going on out there. It doesn't take a PhD to see it. But regardless of what's happening in our world around us, who is our shepherd? Who is it? Oswald Chambers wrote this, quote, "Faith never knows where it is being led, but it loves and knows the one who is leading." I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what tomorrow has. I don't know. But I'm not afraid because I know the one who does know. So I'm good. No matter what, he's got me. I'm going to be good. Maybe you have read Psalm 23 when things were really tough. Like it was just tough and you read it. What about, and dream with me for a second, what if we didn't read this at funerals? What if we read this today and then applied it today? Lord's my shepherd. Nothing's going to hurt me. All the crap going on out there in the news ain't going to hurt me because God's got me. All the stuff that people are trying to attack me and my character, it ain't going to work because God's got me. All those people that are trying to get me down in work or try to gossip about me or spread lies ain't going to hurt me because God's got me. God's got me. That person that said I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not there enough, ain't going to hurt me because God's got me. My shepherd is standing in front of me with his staff and he's saying, that's my sheep and you can't get them. That's it. Yeah, but they voted this way. Doesn't matter. My shepherd said I'm good. What if we actually live this out, you guys? The truth is you can. Now, this week ask yourself, are there people, ideas, or things other than God that I've anchored my hope to? Let's get real here. Let's get real. Is it relationships? Is it your house? Is it your finances? I mean, that's honestly the reason why people who love church and go to it, they don't tithe because they're locked into saying, what if I start to tithe and I'm not going to have any money? People say, well, I can't possibly do this or that or the other because what if I do that and you're still getting scared about stuff? I can't give that person my heart because that person's going to hurt me like everybody else has hurt me. I can't, get a part of this or that because it's going to go bad. What if you just trusted God and followed him? You could do that today. Guys, that's why we're here. That's why we're here as a church. That's what we're here to do. We're here to encourage one another. Guys, right now, a lot of people, because we have online church, a lot of people, what they'll do is they won't even consider going to church. They just want to watch a bunch of different pastors online for whatever they're feeling that day. I mean, let's cut out the BS. Let's talk straight. A lot of people will watch church and they'll go, oh, I like Pastor so-and-so in Charlotte because I'm feeling down today. Click. Today, I'm feeling like I need to be uplifted, so I'm going to click. Today, I'm having a problem with my finances, so I'm going to watch Pastor so-and-so from Dallas. Click, click, click. That's great that you're getting full, and that's great that you're getting a bunch of stuff, but what is it you're giving back to God? You're simply a consumer at this point, getting whatever I want. That's what churches have really come down to, and churches are really falling all over themselves to give you more so you can come to their church. Come next Saturday, we're having a iPad giveaway. Come next week, everybody wins a Mustang. What about, hey, what am I going to do? How am I going to serve? How am I going to grow? Because until you get that, you guys, you're constantly going to be a consumer and everything out there is unfair. It's not right. It's not fair. I need to get my share. Have you guys ever known that tug of war is actually a thing? Tug of war is like a league. You know that? Look at these guys. That's a previous champion right there. None of those guys are huge. You ever notice that? Now, if most of us are putting together a tug of war team, they would say, like most churches are saying, well, until we get really big, then we can do something. That's what a lot of people in big churches will tell you. So these guys aren't big. And the idea is if I want to win a tug of war match, I'm going to get the biggest guys to get on the rope and they're going to stand there with their big arms and they're going to pull the rope across. That's not how you win tug of war. A lot of people think that's what you need to do, but that's not how you win it. Notice something? They're all pulling at the same time. A buddy of mine was in the military and they actually teach you how to do a proper tug of war. You get on your butt, you get the rope around your arm, and everybody pulls at the same time with your legs because your legs are much stronger than your arms. And then they stop. And then they pull at the same time. And that's how you win. So it doesn't matter how big you are. A lot of churches are big, fat, and lazy. They're standing with their the rope and they're trying to pull it with their arms and trying to win the whatever. We are going to set and pull together. And on our rope, we've got Republicans and Democrats. We've got people that believe all sorts of, we've got people that watch CNN and Fox. We've got people that are from all different backgrounds. We've got people from all different struggles. We've got people in our church that struggle with alcoholism or drugs or porn or sex or shopping or whatever the vice is. And on our rope, we are going to set and pull together, and we're not going to get angry at the first thing we don't like. Well, I didn't like that so-and-so's there, and that person posted this, so I'm not going to go there anymore. Then leave. But here, we are going to set and pull together. And no matter what their political preference is, I don't care about that stuff. We've had people literally leave our church because, well, I saw so-and-so posting that. I'm out here. Goodbye. Take it easy. Hope I hope I see you around. But here, the people that are here that are going to build this church, we are going to understand that we're all different. And that's okay because we know who our shepherd is. Guys, if you're going through something right now and you are going through that valley that it talks about in Psalm, that David's talking about, and you're in that valley and you're like, man, I have no idea how I'm going to get out of this financial mess. I have no clue. I don't know how I'm going to get this relationship back on order, but I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of being let down and abused. I don't know how I'm going to get a job after I had a job that I loved and I don't have it anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do now. I don't know what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to tell you. It's not going to help if you keep flipping around the channels to whatever pastor is going to give you what you need that day. You've got to go, God, what do you need me to do? I want to follow you. If you're not in a small group, get in a group. You could sign up today. If you need prayer, write it down, and let's pray for you. Let's come alongside you. But this is what I know. God's given us a home in San Clemente, California with 11,000 square feet. And I am convinced 100% that he would not have given that to us if we were just going to waste it. We are going to be committed to setting and pulling at the same time and introducing more and more people in our community about who our shepherd is. We'd love to have you for the ride. We'd love to have you be part of that. This family right here, I look forward every Sunday. Sometimes I have terrible weeks, guys. Sometimes somebody that I really care about and I love, and I thought we were really close, and they're just like, yeah, I just don't really have time for church anymore. I'm not going to be part of it. Sometimes it's just like I get bad news on different things. But every week, I can't wait for Sunday morning because I know that the faces that I'm looking out of actually love me. I don't know most of your political preferences, and to be honest, I don't care. But I know I love you. I know you love me. And I know I don't have to go through all this muddy junk by myself. And that's what we want for you. Let's pray. Father, I just thank you so much for this series that we've been under. I know that we've had a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, God, with political stuff, but also with personal stuff, Jesus. And we've attached our hope to things that just aren't real. We've attached our hope to ideas of things, but those things weren't real. Father God, I thank you that I'm a part of a church that we could talk real and openly and not have to edit what we say or feel because we're afraid of not sounding Christian enough or spiritual enough. God, I love that we could just come right to you and say it like it is without any fear of being judged. What a gift that is to be at a church where you could say what you want to say and not worry that everybody's going to judge you. Father God, I pray for everybody watching online, the people that are here, that we commit ourselves, in spite of the fact that we're all different, to leading more people to you, God. Father, anytime anybody here wants to get high and mighty and judge people, I pray that somebody loves them enough to give them a mirror. To realize that none of us have this wired or figured out. And I'm here humbly coming before you, God, asking me to love your people the best way that I can. And as we build something so unique and so cool, and as we get prepared to move to our new facility, God, that we can introduce more and more people to you. No matter what's going on out there, we know we're going to be fine here because we have you as our shepherd. It's in your name.
South Hills Church, I just want to take a moment and say thank you for watching our service online. Whether you're watching it for the first time or you're watching it again because you enjoyed the service so much from the weekend, I'd like to take a moment and dive into our giving. Every week we give people the opportunity to give back and give to the local church so that God can continue to bless your lives and bless your finances. Here at South Hills, we believe that everything comes from God. We believe that He's the one that chose us and brought us into this world, gave us our gifts and talents and abilities. And I just want you to know that when we give, we are giving back what God has already given to us. If you've ever seen any of our envelopes at a South Hills campus, you'll see on there that it says, every week at South Hills, your generosity is giving people the opportunity to live a better story. And there's a scripture on there in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21 that says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So I want to encourage you today to click down below and set up your giving, whether it's for the first time or whether you're doing reoccurring giving. We have 4 ways to give here at South Hills. 1, you can do it in person at any of our campuses through an envelope. Or 2, you can actually text any amount that you would like to 84321. And the 3rd way is to download our Church Center app. I encourage you to do this one because the Church Center app gives you opportunity to stay connected with our church and your campuses. It's a great tool and resource for you to know what's going on. And the 4th way to give is to give online. You can go to southhills.org/give and you can set up your giving there. Whether you're a guest of our church or whether you are a member of our church, whether you simply just like to watch our services, I encourage you to trust God with your finances so that He can bless and anoint your finances and you can be trusting God in this journey of living life to the fullest. I love you and thank you for watching our online service today.